Go ahead and get started. My name's Amber Bell. Today we're going to be talking about SmartList Designer versus SmartList Builder. If you guys on the chat or are able to say if you have Designer or Builder, that would be great. But if you want to just let Marlena know, that's also something good too. So we can, if we have training coming up, we'll keep you posted on either of the tools. Today I'm going to be showing you a lot of the benefits of using SmartList Builder. So we'll show you some, I've worked with GP for a long time. I know Marlena gave a little bit of a bio about me. You're welcome to check out books I have. We have a lot of trainings and things coming up regarding those as well. Okay. So as I mentioned, this training is going to show you some of the features that are in Builder that are not necessarily available in Designer. So if we look at Designer, that is a great tool to get started with. If you don't have, okay, so it looks like Rhonda says she thinks they have Builder, and I'm going to show you guys today how to find out which one you have. And a lot of you, if you have Builder, you do have access to use Designer as well. It's included, it's free with GP. But what we're going to show you today is I'm actually going to demo a lot of these features. So the slides that we have up right now, these are slides that came from, or the checklist came from the E1 Solutions website. So E1 Solutions, if you write that down, that's the name of the company that does Builder. The reason I recommend writing down their website, and I can show you their website today, is that they have a lot of resources on their website. We're going to show you how you can take a template from E1 and you can load it right into GP so you're not starting from zero. We have a training class coming up, and that's going to be a 4-hour class that's more in depth on how to use Builder. And I'm going to go through and show you how to start a report from tables, how to start one from designing from a template. I'm going to show you all of these things in a training class. So today is more of a demo. So just know you're going to walk away knowing what the differences are, but then we're going to train you later if you're interested on actually how to do a lot of these things. So in these slides here, I just have this one up here. So there's things that you can do in both. Designer, you can create your own SmartList Builder, you can create your own SmartList. But where it gets to be different is just, to me, the ease of use. When you're in Designer, some of the things are quite easy. You just check a box, you have a report. But when you start to do some more advanced things, and I'm going to show you those today, I picked out my favorite things that make Builder a little bit easier to work with. So next slide, we'll go. Here we go. Okay. So some of those things include go-tos, and I'm not going to read through these. These are actually picked. I mentioned right now, if we go to the E1 site, if we go to E1 Solutions, I want to show you where I pulled this exact list. If you need to show this to anybody, it's going to be on E1 Solutions. And I'm just going to check the chat. Okay. Okay, perfect. And yeah, we will have the recording on our website. If somebody was asking about the recording, the website is going, our website's going to have the recording available for you when this is all set. So if we go onto the E1 Solutions website and we go into SmartList Builder right off of software, you're going to see on their website that they have one of the little tabs right here, SmartList SLB, which is SmartList Builder, versus SmartList Designer. So what I did was I just took this list and I put it into some slides so we can kind of point out some of the differences. But again, we're going to talk about today date formatting and string formatting. Things that we can do in there are available in SmartList Builder. They're not available in Designer. Things you can do in Builder, showing notes. So instead of showing you a bunch of slides and making you read them, I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to show you how to create a report in Designer really quick. And then we're going to create a similar report, and we're going to do it in Designer and Builder and show you some of the extra features that are available. Now, when I log into Microsoft Dynamics GP, I actually have it up there twice. I'm just going to cancel this one. I have SmartList Builder installed. Now, I can see that I have SmartList Builder a couple different ways. If I click Microsoft Dynamics GP, Tools, you'll see SmartList Builder here, and then if you click that, you'll see the Builder tools. Builder comes with more than just SmartList Builder. It comes with SmartList Builder, Excel Report Builder, which are live Excel reports. So you would open them in Excel, and they would have data pulled from GP. Navigation List Builder, which if you haven't used navigation lists, That's something that I covered in one of my last sessions we did, which we recorded. I think we have it on our website. And then drill down builder, that works along really well with Excel report builder to open up specific windows and open up posted transactions and things like that. So there's 4 different builders that come with it. Today we're just talking about the SmartList builder. That's the main one that we're going to talk about. But again, those are available as well. Now, if we go into SmartList Builder, I can get it this way, but I'll be honest, the way that I normally get to SmartList Builder is I just open up my SmartList. Now, last night was doing very late night prep, so it just told me I had another update to do because I forgot to update my last one I just finished. So here is regular SmartList, and you're going to notice across the top we have new, modify, search, refresh, all those. If you go to new, that is going to launch either SmartList Builder or SmartList Designer, depending on which one you have that your system is set up with. Now, if you just see Designer, don't assume you don't have Builder. It could be not installed on your workstation. So always check with your IT or your partner. If you're working with DexPro, we can look that up and let you know and help you get that set up. So if I go into new, it's going to launch which of the tools I have that's set up on my system. So I have SmartList Builder. Now for the first demo we're going to do, I'm going to use Designer. Now just because you have Designer, you can switch between, but I highly recommend that if you have Builder, use Builder. And you're going to see why today. There's a lot of features in there that are easier to use. So we're going to just disable, oops, wrong drop down. We're going to disable my SmartList Builder for just a second. And I'm just going to disable it, and I'm going to minimize this so I can come back to it real quick. Okay, so now if I hit new, you're going to see SmartList Designer. Now I created a SmartList Designer report last night to show you, and I'm going to show you that one in a second because I did a couple extra things to it, but I'm going to show you just a basic of how I can get a report. So let's say that I wanted to get a list of unposted AP checks. That's something I can't see with regular SmartList, but I can see it with Builder or Designer. So I would plus, and I would plus, and I would plus, and then you have to wait for a minute for it to load the tables. This takes the longest. And then we're going to check the boxes by the items we want to see. Now, when we get into the demo, one of the things that you're going to see with Designer that's difficult is that if I add the fields, I can't reorder the columns without removing all the other fields that are before that. So if I wanted vendor ID and then I add the table for vendor name that's over here, I have to take away all the other fields from that report and then go back and forth between the tables and add them in the right order. With Designer, you can't reorder your columns. So if you're taking any notes or making any notes of what's the difference, with Designer, you can't reorder your columns. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that table real quick and just show you what one looks like, just because it is, I mean, if you've never used anything, it's definitely take advantage of the fact that you do own something. Now, I'm smart enough to put these in the right order, but watch if I didn't put them in the right order, I'm kind of stuck with these. Oh, I want the date, and now the date's way down here. I'm stuck with the order that I added them. So this is a quick, world's quickest, oh, I missed to enter the name. I forgot to do this. I'll just add DexPro at the end so I can find it. Okay. And we're going to put this, I'm going to put this into Microsoft Dynamics GP and purchasing. Now I click OK. So now I've got my AP unposted checks for DexPro there. We've got my list right there. So I've got a report. Okay. Now, if I come in, I'm going to show you the one that I worked on yesterday. So this is a report that's showing me AP transactions. So I pulled the AP transaction table, but we're going to look, and if I had only pulled the open or unpaid items, I would not be able to see the historical. And you'll also see that I want to know what document type it is. And in SmartList Designer, I'm just seeing a document type of a number. Now, I could have built that based on what's called a SQL view. But if I build it on the tables, I'm stuck with weird names of the types and things like that. So I don't have that flexibility. Sometimes you want to build it on a table because you want to pull things that are not included with the default Microsoft SQL views. So if you do start with a table, you're going to be limited in Designer with what you do. Now, that's what that one looks like. And if we go into Modify, I just want to show you. And you're going to see in here, I added these columns in here, and I added a calculation, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit. My vendor name, I added it later, and I want to move that up. There's not a move up. I can't drag and drop. I can't hit move up. So just know that's one of those things that makes me a little kooky in Designer. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Okay. So this is what I mentioned about SmartList Designer. I'm not saying you can't get reports, and if that's what you have, we'll work with you, and it will take us, maybe we might create a view for you. We might, do a lot more of the work to help you get it going. But what you're going to see is that you're going to be a lot more self-sufficient if you can use Builder. With Designer, you can't reorder the columns. I mentioned that already. You also can't, if you base your report on tables, you can't publish to create a live Excel report. You can only publish things based on a SQL view. And if your brain goes, I don't know what SQL views are, or if every time I want to build a report, I have to get a new view created, and I don't have security to get into there, that's going to slow me down. That's where Builder is going to be easier for you, because we can set up the security so that users can publish without having to go into SQL and do that. You saw already that tables do not store friendly names for the columns. Creating calculations to do that is complicated. I tried yesterday. I never do really calculations in Designer because most of the customers I work with, when we get into more complicated reports, they end up getting Builder because it's just a lot easier to work with. And I tried to do a formula, which I have the formula in my little cheat sheets. I have GP tips in my notes. I was like, okay, I can try to do this case and figure out and put that all together, what it's going to do, and I'll make it work. I'm going to try to do it. And so if I go into Designer and I try to do a formula, and you'll see that today, it's a lot more difficult than in Builder. So we're going to show you the differences on there. Okay. Now, I showed you the basic of just that main window. I saw that if I created it based on the tables, one of the things that they mentioned, and I'll show this in the slide as well, is that in SmartList Builder, you're able to connect similar tables. So for example, if I want a list of payables transactions for a vendor, right? Somebody says, I want to know all the transactions for this vendor for the last 2 years. Some of those could be paid, some could be open and not paid, and some could be just entered and not posted. So those are in GP are 3 different tables. So in GP, when you enter a transaction and you save it, it's considered a work. It's on the work tables. If you post it and you haven't paid it, it's on the open tables. If you've posted and paid it and it's moved to history, it's on a history table. So that's the complexity, is that now it's in 3, could be in 3 places, the transactions. So if we take a template from E1, you go on their website and you go to their software for SmartList Builder, and we just go into downloads. We can download a template. So I downloaded a couple templates, and I'll show you what the file looks like. I'm just going to pull up this screen. Here we go. And I have a little folder for Marlene and stuff. So here we go. This is what the folders look like. So they come as zipped files. You can also import these directly from inside of SmartList Builder. In that same, when we go to Microsoft Dynamics GP Tools, SmartList Builder, there's an option to import. You can import from their website as well. To me, this is sometimes a little bit quicker, but it also works. You just have to kind of walk away, grab a cup of coffee, come back, the other one will be done. So here, this is there. And the only time you'll see it to import is if you extract these files. So I'm just going to right click and I'm going to extract all. And we're going to hit extract. Okay. Now I did this last night for the payables report, and it does take a bit of time. So instead of making you watch what it does, I'm just going to show you on screen. You go into Microsoft Dynamics GP, Tools, SmartList Builder, and Import. And then you can pull this from a file or import from the web. So see how there's those 2 tabs there. Now I sat there and watched that import when I was finishing up the final prep for today. And I said, I am not going to make them sit there and watch this. This will make a very boring video. You already had to watch me deal with finding my laptop cord. We're not going to make it worse. So what I did was I imported it, and I'm going to show you the difference. So we started with the SmartList Designer AP report. Now we're going to look at one right out of the box, available with no, you didn't create this. It's going to be based on the template, and it's going to be a builder report. So I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to re-enable builder just because I want you to see what it does. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit enable. Now, again, I mentioned this before, but I do not recommend that you go in and out of SmartList Designer and Builder, because once a report is built in one of the tools, you can't update it in the other tools. So there's so much more stuff you can do in Builder. If you do own it, use that one. So the one that I imported was this one called Payables Transactions. Now you'll notice that this report is going to show a friendly name instead of just the document number or the type of the number. The other thing that we'll see if we go into the modify is that this is actually already multiple tables mixed together. So looking at this report, I can see very easily the columns that are included. It's very easy for me to turn those off and on. I could even say that someone cannot add that column. So if I uncheck the display and they don't have security to that window, they cannot add that column if they're only looking at that SmartList, if that's the only one they have security to. I had a client a few years ago who hid the unit cost for their items. And so what they did was they took away everybody's security to this window and that window and this window, but they still wanted them to look at item SmartLists. But that's an inherent column in inventory SmartLists, is the item cost. So we did it in Builder, and we just took away the option to show unit cost. So by unclicking the display, the person cannot add it. By using default, the column is automatically part of the main SmartList when they first click on the folder. But under each favorite, you can add your own columns, and it starts to act just like a regular SmartList once it's deployed and once security is done. So we've got that SmartList, we've got this report in there. Now I've got my columns in here. I can do some extra things in here, but when I mentioned that there's more than one table, I'm going to show you that in the slides, and I'll show you it here as well. So right now, if I just visually look at this, I might think it's only showing me work or unposted transactions. But what I can do is click this little guy here. And then if I go down to the matched tables, what I'm going to be able to see in the matched tables is I can see, if I hit the button, that it's matching or saying that there's a relationship between this table and that table. So I can match these tables and pull the tables that have the same information. So I would match the work, the open, and the history. I'll be honest, when I started using Builder, trying to figure that out was difficult. So what I did was I just started to download the templates, and I worked off the templates. So I never had to think about that again because it's part of the initial templates that you work with. So that match tables is going to allow you to have one SmartList that includes open, work, historical transactions. So that's a big difference between the two. Next thing we're going to do, just make sure we go through the slides. Okay. Now I mentioned in Builder or Designer that we couldn't reorder the columns. What I would literally have to do is delete those columns, re-add them in the exact order I want them. Now, if I had already published that, made that into a live Excel report, done pivot tables off of it, done all of this, and all I wanted to do was reorder the columns, I would be prompted to republish, and that would wipe out all that work that I had done on those saved reports. So you want to be very careful with that. We'll get it finished first, then publish, so that you don't mess up any work you've done out in Excel. Now to reorder in SmartList Builder, it's going to be pretty easy. We're just going to come in here, and I'm going to add, if I add another column, let's say that I want to put the due date in here. I'm going to go into my columns, and I can move these around. So I can say, you know what, I want the vendor ID at the top. Oh, I forgot to put the vendor name. Let's go ahead and put that vendor name in. So that's over here. Let's put the vendor name in, and let's go back over here. Oh no, it's down at the bottom. Now, if I was over in Designer, I would have to delete all those other columns, remember what tables they came from, and then manually re-add them. So I can just come over here and put it in the exact order that I want. Okay. So moving columns around, it sounds like it's an easy thing, but weirdly it's very hard in Designer. So that's one of the things that makes it easier in Builder. Okay. Now the field names, I told you that you can update the fields to show friendly names. I tried to figure this out over in Designer, and I thought I could do like some kind of a case thing. And I tried to start doing that. Now this is a Builder screen, so it's even easier in Builder to do it the hard way, if that makes any sense. If you have to do it the hard way, do it the hard way in Builder because it's easier than the extremely hard way in Designer. But I couldn't even figure it out in Designer. So I'm going to show you how I did it, or what happened in Builder, because this actually came automatically. If I go to the type field and I hit this little blue arrow, they automatically filled in the values. Now I could call this something else if I wanted. So I could say, you know, vendor bill. I could rename it to something else if I wanted as well. So you can call something, if you use a document a different way than Microsoft intended, or you call it something else internally, those are editable as well without programming. So my big thing with this is that I'm not doing programming. I'm not in Excel. I mean, I'm not in SQL. I'm just right in Builder, and I'm able to make some adjustments and changes. So we talked about you can reorder the columns. You can also rename the display name. So that's something I didn't put in the slides, but if I wanted to just call this ID. Now I could change the name in the favorite, but I noticed that also is a little wonky in Designer reports, but in Builder, it's just like that. I changed the name. Now the one that's going to show when I open the SmartList is ID instead of the other description. Okay. So we can just click the blue arrow and you can rename the names. It's very easy to do. Okay. This is the one that I showed you guys before, and this is so critical if you're trying to do a report that's going to show vendor open AP, open historical, general ledger historical and open, you know, current year. You can't do that with Designer because you can't combine tables. So you could do that if you started with a SQL view, but if you don't have access to the SQL views, or you need something outside of what the standard SQL views that come with the system have, you're not going to be able to do it in SmartList Designer without getting a new SQL view. So we can always help with that. Please know we've done that for lots of clients. But if you want to do it on your own, you're going to do it through Builder. It'll be a lot easier. Okay. Now, one of the other favorite things that I like in SmartList, in regular SmartList, is something called a go-to. So we're going to go back into SmartList. I'm going to just save my little guide that I made the changes to. We're going to take a look at what happened with that. And then we're going to go back in and look at something in Designer, and then we'll look at something over in Builder. So here's my report. You can see that I've got my ID. I renamed that field. I've got my name. I've got the due date over here, those columns that I added. It's very easy to do. Now, note that I'm logged in as administrator, so I don't have to worry about security. I've done videos about that. I can share information with you guys during the training on how to do security so that people see these reports. But just for today's training or today's session, I'm not getting into the guts of the security. Okay, so if I go to a regular SmartList, now you can see I do a lot of Designer and Builder in training sessions, but we're going to pick a regular one. So I'm going to pick payables transactions. And I'm in here and I want to take a look at this transaction. I can do a go-to and I can either view it, double click it and view it, or hit here and view it. I can also jump to vendor maintenance, transaction inquiry, yearly period, all of those, all these different windows. So I can actually look at this vendor's open balance, zoom in, all of that's considered a go-to starting from the SmartList. Now with SmartList Designer, I'm going to just go ahead and disable this again. I wish it was up at the top, but that's okay. If I go to that report I created earlier, which is up here, which is payables transactions, and I go into my modify, and I go up here, there is the option to create a go-to. But in Designer, there's only the option to go to a GP Smart List, a navigation list, or a web page. I tried yesterday to do a navigation list and it locked up my system. So I've noticed sometimes with navigation lists, because it might try to run a SQL view and the settings you have, be careful with that one if you try to do this. But I'll do the Smart List one and show you what I did here. So I went in here and I said, I'll show you the one I already did. We'll just edit it. And I go, oh, well, you know what? It'll pull up the vendor. It'll pull up the balance for that vendor. And I'll just use that. And then I'll do my go-tos. So I did this. I figured, okay, it's going to be the Smart List and vendors and vendor balance. Okay, I think I've got it. Everything's all set. So I did that, which is great. You know, it's great that I could do that. But watch what happens if I go into this. It doesn't filter. It's literally just jumping to that random Smart List, not random, but that Smart List. But it has nothing to do with the item I just selected. We're going to take a look at the difference if I do that type of thing in Smart List Builder. So we're going to go ahead back in here and we'll get to see. So with my builder one, which we created up here, I've got a couple. I actually duplicated them a couple times to show you some other features coming up. So we're going to come into this and do the payables one we did. Now, this one came from E1. I did not do any go-tos for this, but I automatically have some go-tos in there. I put a little line in there, and I'll show you where I did that in the other window, because that was something I learned how to do yesterday. So there's not really a reason for that line. It's just me playing around. But I can come in, and I can view the transaction. I can come in. I can open the vendor. I can do a bunch of different things in there. So I can go to vendor maintenance if I want, all that off of that window. Sometimes you have to adjust what fields it's filling in. So if it seems like it's not working, I can show you how to fix those. But again, the go-tos can go to GP windows. So if I go into modify and I go to the go-to, oops, that was my columns. We did that earlier. I'm going to go to I keep hitting columns. I really want to go into columns for some reason. Go into the go-to. So in the go-to, I put this separator in there. I was messing around with that, but I could remove that. That was just me playing yesterday. So I can come in and I can update and I can add these, but I can also make them go to a built-in. That's going to be ones based on another Smart List. And I can say I want this to go to, we did this off of the one that's for payables transactions. And they already did this for you, but these are all the ones that are already there. So they're like, why make you do the work to recreate them? We'll just have you connect the ones you want to use on this Smart List. So you could do that. You can also have the go-to open a window that they didn't think to use. So I have had this window open up the apply window. Maybe I have unapplied credits. So I can have that open that apply window. So I would come in and go to a form and AP. Sorry, let's grab this. And I can come in, pick the module, and I can pick the window, and I can build that off of that. So I can do a go-to, here's the apply to documents, and then I can add setting the fields. And if you need help with this, this again is something that we would definitely train you on if you were going to be using this, but they're available and they're possible, and they've already done the work for all of these for you. So you can see what things are getting filled in, Sometimes it fills in more than one field. So if we take a look at the view, it might fill in a couple fields. So you can kind of see what it's doing is it's trying to fill in the voucher number and all that. So there's different things that it can do. So the go-tos, those are very limited in Designer, but they're very, very powerful over in Builder. This thing I showed you guys earlier, this is how I've dealt with the fact if I have a customer where we created a open and unapplied AR transactions. We included the notes from that transaction, and then she double clicks on that open credit or payment or return, and it auto pulls up the apply screen and has that item open and ready to apply. So that's something I could not do in Builder, but I was able to do in Designer, and then I had to do a funky formula for it to work. But that's something that's possible, and it's without Builder you couldn't do that. So here's the little list about things that are different about the go-tos for SmartList Builder. The templates from E1 include predefined go-tos. You can set up go-tos based on other SmartList built-in go-tos. That's where it says built-in, and you can pull from those. They can also be set to open other filtered SmartLists. So if I clicked on a line that said that vendor ID, and I went to a SmartList that was going to show me that vendor in the balance, it would just jump to that. It would jump to just that line, and it would filter all the other ones away. It can also execute procedures. You can separate them using separators, and you can also link them to custom drill downs. I haven't done these two. These are newer features. The middle one, I just did that yesterday, but the execute procedures, I haven't done that, but you can have it do that. And having it go to drill downs, I haven't done that. So there's even features they've added that I haven't tried that you could look on their website. They'll have how to do that on their website if you're interested. Okay. Now, I tried to do a calculation yesterday, and I figured it out. It took me a while in Designer. If I wanted to create, this is a very simple calculation. I basically just wanted the first two letters of the vendor name. I said, I'm just going to start easy. So to do this calculation, if I do this out in Designer, I have to actually come in, and I can't type in that expression field. You'd think I could just type in and I'd be done. Left, the field name, pick the field name, comma, two, parentheses, and I'd be done. I can't type in there. So what I actually had to do is I had to pick the function of left and then pick the field and put it in the right place. And then I had to move, I was able to move the mouse, and then I had to go to constants in that tab, and I had to put a comma, and I had to hit insert for that comma. I couldn't type it. Then I had to go into, then the mouse moved, and I had to move it back like it moves the little cursor, not the mouse, but the cursor. And then I had to go into constants and put a number 2 and hit insert. So I can't just paste in. If somebody says, oh, I already did that formula, just paste it. I had to manually type that in. It was very difficult. If I go into Builder and I want to do a calculated field, so maybe I want to take this and I want to take and put, I'm trying to think of something that would be good to see. We'll put the vendor name and the ID in one column, just because that's kind of a good one. So we'll go to calculations. Now I've noticed they fixed it that you don't have to do trims as much anymore. So it actually should look pretty good right away. So we're going to create one. And I want to see vendor info. And this is going to be a string. And I'm going to go with the vendor master file. Now I could pull this off of 2 tables, but they're both in this one table. So I'm just going to take it from here, and I'm going to go vendor ID, and I'm going to use a plus. In Excel, if we were doing concatenating, we would do an ampersand, right? We would do the little and sign. In here, we're just going to do a plus, and I'm going to do equals, because I'm putting a text in there, so I'm putting a little dash, and then I'm putting another plus, and I'm putting the name. Okay. All I did was double clicked a couple of times, and I'm already done with that. We're going to validate, make sure I didn't mess it up. Yep, it's valid. And we'll hit save, and we'll hit OK. And if I want to see that field, I can just come over to calculated and turn that field on. Now with that field on, I probably would turn off the ID and the name if I didn't need them, but we're just going to leave it on for now and just hit save and take a look at what that field looks like. Older versions of Builder, I noticed that it would hold the full length of the max for the ID and the max for the name, so it looked funny. I noticed recently that it's pulling these in, and it's automatic. Oh, see, no, I think you do need to do some trims. So see how that has some extra room? We would come in and modify that. And this is where it could get a little bit, if you don't know how to do this, this is something we could train you on. But I could come in here, and there's a built-in field function, and for strings, we're going to do L trim. And then I'm just going to cut this and see how I can just cut and paste in here. If I was over in Designer, I would have to delete everything and do it very manually. So I'm just going to put this into here. And what this is saying is if there's any extra space at the end, get rid of it. And then I don't even have to do that lookup for the formula. I already know it's L trim, so I'm just going to go here and go, and then we'll test to see if I did it right. Okay. Now that seems a little complicated, but the ability to do that here is a billion times easier than trying, oh, I'm gonna hit okay, than trying to do that over in Designer. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK and hit save, and we'll have a nice clean field. Now that works really well because I'll sometimes turn these into pivot tables, and I want to have one column with the ID and the name, one column that has the year, so I break the year out. So I use SmartList Designer to do that, and then I can publish that as well. So now you can see I've got those cleaned up if I did them. Oh, it should have been an R trim, by the way. I did an L trim on accident. Modify. Me not knowing my left and right makes a big difference. So again, I can easily fix it, calculations, fix this, and this should be the extra spaces at the end. So it's going to be an R trim. So just all I have to do is change this to an R, and we'll be good. I always tell people that whenever you do a demo in front of people, it's like on cooking shows, they always have a cake ready to go. So I do have a smart list of things done on there. But just to show you that it's not that hard to fix them. If you make a mistake, I'm not messing with the real data, I'm just putting in a formula. So now if I save that and we let that refresh, and now we should see, yeah, see now it's got APD dash and then it's got it closer. So I moved them much closer, there was a weird extra space. So formulas like that, you can concatenate. You can do all kinds of things. You can do date differences. You can pull parts of the thing. So if I want just the month, I just want the year, I just want any kind of thing like that, I can pull that out of that. We've got a couple things in chats. And okay, perfect. I think a lot of people keep asking about the recording. So just in case your fingers are right on the keyboard and going to ask, we definitely are recording, and you guys are going to get a link to this. Okay. So next. And again, we are going to be doing a full SmartList Builder training later, so just know that that's coming up. I'm showing you guys a lot of features. We've got about 15 minutes, and I want to show you a couple other things in the slides. So I wanted you to see how much easier that is. I'm going to flip through these slides. We've got only a couple left, and then and a couple of them are talking about our upcoming sessions. So one of the other features I really like about SmartList Builder is that you can duplicate your work. So instead of messing up a report that's already working, I had a customer that goes, can you change this and do this, this, this? Instead of taking this report that I did all that work for, I put in that, the formula at the end, I changed the IDs, I did all of that. If they asked me to make a change, I could break it. You can make, I added a table wrong, it duplicated records. So what I do is I just come into modify, and I go into options, and I just hit duplicate. Now I could duplicate it into being another smart list. So I just come in here and I'll say I want it to be another smart list. I put a new name and I hit the button, and it's going to be done. I'm going to have that extra report. But I can also duplicate and change this into being a live Excel report where I can do my formulas, I can do my restrictions over there. So use duplicate if you're going to make a change. The other thing I can do here that I cannot do easily in SmartList Designer is I can do a lot easier restrictions. So for example, in here, I want to switch, and I just want to see, based on the type, I want to look at the document type. And I want to see when the document type is one of a list, and I want to see returns, and and we'll go to, remember I renamed mine to vendor bill, that's why that's that way, credit and payments. I only want to see returns, credits, and payments. Trying to do that through SmartList, I could do, but I also only want to see ones where the current amount is not equal to 0. So I'm going to come in here, and we'll go to C, and we'll say current, is not equal to 0. Okay. Now I could leave this restriction for everybody, or I can also pick specific users, check the box by the user, or I could use user classes. If we assign my users to classes, I can do that as well. I'm going to leave it for all users just because I don't want to deal with switching between users. And we're going to click OK. We're going to do a couple more changes on the same smart list, and I'll show you the slides for them in a second. But I wanted you to get to see on one smart list how, starting from that one smart list in design in Builder, how we were able to make a lot of really cool changes. So far we were able to reorder the columns. We filtered now to just open returns and credits. And now if I go back into modify, it always bugged me that those are going to show the current amount is equal to a positive number. And also the due dates on these, they really shouldn't be there because it's not due in 1900. So if I come back to this and I go to my due date, which I'm going to sort this by ones I've selected. So we're going to sort it by display status. And the, oh, there it is. I should have said default status, sorry. I'm going to say if display 1900 as a blank, I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to sort this by default status. That would have been better. And the current transaction amount, I'm going to hit the button. And I'm going to say show it as a negative value when the document type, which is over here. I'm picking that one. I haven't, might have picked one that's being funky. Oh, there it is, document type. Sorry. I have a bright light on my face to try to look better on the video, and then it's hard to see my screen. Go ahead and do that and hit save. Now we just did a couple huge things that would be impossible in Designer, impossible with regular SmartList. And I did them by checking boxes that are just easy to use. So I've got a couple extra things there. So now I've got my list. They're going to show you as negative numbers. You can see that over there. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the notes. Now I think I've got notes on my other one. So let me show you it on the other one because I filtered that so much we might not see any good notes. Oh no, I guess I didn't. Oh, that's my messed up one. Okay, let's do this. We're going to add notes over here. So we're going to come in here and modify. And I'll go ahead and I will come in here and do, we'll say by name. I'm just going to look for the word note index and add that in there. There we go. I'm going to change this to say transaction note. I could also put the note from the vendor. I could, anywhere that there's a note. By default, they are smart enough to notice that's a note and it's going to show the note. Again, that's an impossible thing to do in design and Builder, but unless you, maybe with the view you could do it, it'd be very difficult. I can't say impossible. Difficult would be the right word. But here it was simply a checkbox. So while that's thinking, I'm going to flip through these slides. We duplicated multi-company and summary. If you click on the options, you can make this a summary smart list and group it. That's the one I had at the sample. I'll show you guys that. So I could show, instead of showing one line for every vendor, I could show totals for their grand total for payables, for credit memos, their grand total for payments. So I have one line per document type per vendor if I wanted, if I grouped them. So the system does that calculation. Instead of you seeing 10,000 lines, you're going to see one line per group. Okay. We did the restrictions already, and we did the show notes. And then we can also build a smart list based on an existing smart list. So we'll come back into there. I'm going to show you guys what the note looks like. Now I have this filtered to somebody without a note. So we're going to put, let's do this. I'm just going to put a note on that transaction. I happen to be picking a bunch of weird stuff. Okay. Let me go back in here and take out that filter, and then you'll see some notes. Because I do have notes in here. I just combined this into too many. Modify. Take out that restriction. Okay. And then we'll take out this. And we're going to go ahead and run this. And I'll get to show you the other two. And like I said, we'll cover this more in depth on our training, but just to show you an idea of what these allow you to do. So now I've got my couple things there. And now if I look at my notes, here we go. There's some notes out there. So now you can see this invoice is important, and then I have this student. So I put notes on the transaction, and I can view and see those and run reports on those. Okay. One of the things I mentioned in here on the notes is that you can actually start a SmartList builder report based on a SmartList. So you're not starting from scratch. So I'm just going to call this test just to get this done. And you can build a SmartList based on an existing SmartList without messing with the original. Now you can modify the original, but I recommend being very careful with that because you can easily corrupt it and mess it up, and it's a pain to clean up. So I just tell people, go in here. You've already got everything set. You can come in, add and remove columns, do all kinds of different things to it if you want to, and you've got a brand new SmartList based on an existing SmartList. The other thing that I mentioned is that you can do what's called a summary SmartList. So hopefully this one's going to come up. Oh no, this is the one that I did all the notes on. That's so funny. The one that says TRX summary, that'd be helpful. So this one, what I did was I grouped it by vendor ID and I grouped it by document type. So you could see if we sort it by vendor ID, they have payments total and their invoice total. You can see their miscellaneous charges, their payments, and their invoices. So it groups it by the document based on the settings that I did. And that's not possible with Designer, but it is with Builder. Okay. We've got about 10 minutes left. I'm going to check the pop-ups again, make sure there's not any questions. If you do have any specific questions on any of the features that I mentioned, please put that in the chat now. We do have what we're calling a SmartList Builder Boot Camp coming up. That's going to be on December 8th. That'll be at 12 Central. So depending on where you are, it's pretty convenient no matter what coast you're on. And we're opening up the registration soon. So keep an eye on our website, any communications we send out. We also have a year-end training coming up. Now, this year, if you've never attended a year-end training and you've done it yourself for years and years, this year, I highly recommend going because there's a lot of changes this year with the 1099 requirements. There's now the 1099 NEC. So I'm going to cover and talk about that. We've also been sending, for those of you who are current DexPro clients, we've sent out some communication of ways that you can deal with that if you're not able to do the update or upgrade from Microsoft. But we definitely want to make sure you're aware of that. We don't want it to be January and you start crying that you don't know how to deal with the 1099s. We've got some chats. Let's check these out. Okay. So as far as the, how do you prevent lines from duplicating when combining tables? A lot of it depends on how you're adding the tables. So Kiana, that would be a great thing for us to do in the training session. If you're able to attend that, that would be great. We did put the link in the chat for how to register for the year-end training. The boot camp, is it being recorded? That's a question for Marlena. I know it is that is a paid course. So when we're doing these 1-hour classes to give you guys an idea of what we have out there, but when it's the, oh, the date might be wrong on there. It says year-end training on 11/12. That's wrong, Marlena, on the slide.
Okay.
I didn't notice. Mm-hmm. Haley, what's the date for the year-end training?
You know what? I am not positive. I think, did we move it to sometime in December? Let me see.
It is in December. I'll have to look.
We're gonna look it up, and as we were saying,
so it's on the 15th. It's on 12/15.
12/15.
It's December 15th. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to be offering now, we're going to be offering continuously 2 free seminars every week, one with Amber, one with Power BI expert and GP expert Belinda Allen. And that's going to start and continue. And then we're going to start paid classes. So please keep it in mind that in case you do want to have extensive training for example, in this upcoming event is Dynamics GP year-end training, which will cover the new changes in 1099, IRS changes in 1099, and also include the book. So we're gonna correct the date.
Yeah,
And then
I'll change it right now just so that way it's going to be on the slide.
and I also wanted to say that, yeah, we are coming up with more paid 4-hour classes, as Amber was implying, on top of the 2 free one every month. And this is actually being posted as we speak. And then for the clients, our clients, that's, please feel free to reach out if you do have more than few people interested in a class. We can arrange those classes to be instead in our contract rates with you. Otherwise, that's the option for existing clients. And for non-existing clients, I want to remind that we do offer high-level system review, and we can, at no charge, and that review usually shows a health of your system, as well as we can point out to you what modules you or system functionality or reports you own and not using. So that's in case you like to contact me. My contact information is on the bottom of that slide.
So Kiana had a good question. She said, is this advanced training or training for all? For both trainings that I have coming, I have actually quite a few coming up even in January that we're going to be putting up on the website soon, that are for payables and receivables. I try to do mine starting with beginner and then getting you into intermediate, so you can learn in that 4 hours. We're going to start assuming that you've never opened SmartList Builder. So when we go into SmartList Builder, and today was a quick demo of a lot of features, and hopefully you can see the difference. You can definitely create reports with Designer. I do a lot of Designer reports for people. So if you don't have that, you're not using it, and you want help on that and training on that, and you wish we would do a Designer training class, let Marlena know, because we can talk about that. We can help you learn how to use that tool since you already own it. But what I wanted you to see is how Builder is going to be easier. When I'm doing my Builder class, what I tend to do is I basically have Builder up, and if you have Builder on your company, I have access to security to do it on, in your system. You can follow along, and I basically go through all of the buttons across the top, and I explain how all of these work, and we do different exercises with the columns, different exercises with creating go-tos. So you don't have to come in there knowing how to do advanced features. You just come in and you'll learn how to do that in the class. So hopefully that answers. I'm not sure if that was your exact question, but thank you, Kiana, for that question. I hope it helps out. Okay, but thank you guys. Oh, let's go back over here and we'll just take a look at the last slide real quick. Oops, there we go. If you guys need to get a hold of us, Marlena's contact information is on there. And the information about our event is now updated so that you guys are welcome to join us for that session. Marlena,
thank you, everyone. Any follow-up, any last questions before we leave for a day? Oh, pleasure to host you. I hope that you found it helpful, and thank you, Amber, for amazing, show of abilities that GP and SmartList, as well as SmartList Builder, E1 SmartList Builder have. 80% of our clients do end up buying SmartList Builder because we consider that actually part of best practice for us.
Yeah.
And Amber, thank you so much for amazing session.
Thank you guys, and hope it helped you guys get to see the difference. And we're always here to help you any way we can. So thank you guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.